Vishnupada Paramahansa Ashtotara Shata Srimad Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. Today we are reciting the words from Canto 3, Chapter 20 and Text 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please repeat with me. So, Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Praja Sarge Prajapatin Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhurhi Avyakta Margavet Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Praja Sarge Prajapatin Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhurhi Avyakta Margavet Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Praja Sarge Prajapatin Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margavet Prabhuji Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Praja Sarge Prajapati Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margavet Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margahet Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Praja Sarge Prajapati Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margahet Vidura Uvacha Praja Sarge Prajapati Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margavit Mataji Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Sarge Prajapatin Kim Arabata me Brahman Prabhuhi Avyakta Margavet. Word to word translation. Vidura uvacha. Vidura said, Prajapati Pati, Lord Brahma, Srishtva, after creating, Praja Sarge, for the purpose of creating living beings, Prajapatin, the Prajapatis, Kim, what, Arabata, started, me, to me, Brahman, O holy sage, Prabruhi, tell, Avyakta Margavit, knower of what, knower of that which we do not know. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Please repeat. Vidura said, since you know of matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings? Purport. The significant here is the word Avyakta Margavit, one who knows that which is beyond our perception. To know matters beyond one's perception, one has to learn from a superior authority in the line of disciplic succession. Just to know who is our father is beyond our perception, for that mother is the authority. Similarly, we have to understand everything beyond our perception from the authority who actually knows. The first Avyakta Margavit or authority is Brahma, and the next authority in disciplic succession is Narada. Maitreya Rishi belongs to that disciplic succession. So, he also Avyakta Margavit. Anyone in the bona fide line of disciplic succession is Avyakta Margavit, a personality who knows that which is beyond our ordinary perception. Let's Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyacha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So, we are continuing reading Canto 3, Chapter 20. So, we already finished the pastimes of Varaha killing Hiranyaksha. After that, the sages in the Naimisharanya, the discussion was continuing with Suta Goswami. And then the Suta Goswami and the sages were praising the glorifying the Vidura in the past few verses. Now in this today's verse, so Vidura is started speaking and he is discussing some questions with Maitreya Muni. See, if you see the first verse of this chapter 20th, So the Shaunaka Rishi also asked a question. After Earth was situated in the orbit, what did Swayambhuva Manu did to liberate the people coming into the material world? So that was the inquiry, the question which was asked by Shaunaka Rishi in the Naimisharanya with the Sutta Goswami. Similarly, in today's verse, Vidura is also asking in the similar line, that if you read that translation, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors? So we started hearing the questions asked by different sages, like in the Shaunaka Rishi and here in Vidura. Right. So in the purport, Prabhupada is emphasizing on one of the important word, Avyakta Marga Hit. So, but before we discussing that word Avyakta Marga Hit, let's these two verses, like the 20th first verse and this verse, the questions asked by sages. That is, so we try to understand the questions, what kind of questions sages are asking, and what kind of questions generally we ask in the material world, right? So then we take the conclusion, what should we speak, what should we ask, the final, what kind of questions we should ask. We will see some example. So in the material platform, whenever we go to see any person, just we ask, how are you doing? It's like a casual question, right? Just to start beginning with any discussion, we ask the question, how are you doing, how are you feeling today, like that. Similarly, when you go to any of your friends or relatives in the hospital, they are on the bed taking the treatment, then you go and say, how are you, right? So generally we know he's in the hospital, he's suffering, but still we ask, how are you? How are you feeling today? How are you? So if he's already feeling better, he would have been discharged from the hospital, right? So, but still to start with the discussion, so we ask the questions. Sometimes these questions are very casual, not very serious, right? So, but the sages, if you see the other side, the sages kind of questions asked by sages, like Swayambhuva Manu was asking in the first verse, what did, Shaunaka Rishi is asking in the first verse, what did Swayambhuva Manu did to liberate these people who are coming into the material world? And in Vidura also, in this verse, asking, what did Brahma do after creating the Prajapatis for these living beings who are going to come? So who are the entities coming to the material world? The living entities who are falling down from the spiritual world and the material world, they are entering. And at the same time, people taking the repeated birth. These are the two categories generally in the material world, right? So their questions are very not casual. Like similarly, if you see the first canto, in the verse, the Bhagavatam begins with a question by sages, right? There are 6 questions asked by the sages in Naimisharanya with Sutta Goswami, the Shaunaka Rishi and other sages. They will be asking questions. So if you try to see what kind of questions they have asked, like if you see the first question, what is the ultimate aim of a mankind, right? What is the ultimate purpose of the life for human beings? And then what is the essence of Vedic literature? So these are the questions they are asking the various sages. And why did personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as a son of Vasudeva, right? So these are all the different questions. It's not a casual, it's a normal questions. They really want to understand the purpose of these things. And just I'm reading on all those questions, 6 questions asked by sages in the first chapter. So personality of Godhead incarnations. So they wanted to understand various incarnations of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the adventures he performed in his incarnations. And then for the last question is, after Krishna left the material planet and went to his abode, where the religion's principles are taking shelter. So these are all various questions they are asking. If you see, these questions are not normal, not casual. They have a deep meaning. And not only that, when you hear the question and when you understand the answers replied by the Sutta Goswami and the other great sages, it will help the person who has asked the question, it will beneficial to them. Not only to that, still we are reading in the Bhagavatam, we are discussing those questions and we are trying to understand the aim of our life. So that is the kind of question, those are the questions where great sages are asking. They are not asking just for themselves, but for the whole mankind, for all the living beings, they are asking these various questions. So their questions are having proper meaning, the serious and proper purpose. In this regards, I would like to recollect one pastimes with Prabhupada. I heard one of the pastimes from Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada was in Europe, I think it was in France. So he was giving a lecture in a temple hall. And the topic was reincarnation, karma and the reincarnation. And Prabhupada was talking about after if you do karma, you will take the birth. Based on your karma, you will get the next birth. So in the previous birth also, you did some good karma. That's why you are able to come into the contact with these devotees. He was speaking. Then one audience was asking, Prabhupada, in which body I was in my previous birth? That was the question asked by Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada simply ignored. He didn't respond. And after some time, again that audience, the person was asking, in which body I was in my previous life? Then Prabhupada again, he didn't respond. So once the class is finished, again the person asked, Prabhupada, in which body I was in my previous birth? Then Prabhupada responded, you should not ask the question in which body I was in previous birth. Rather, you ask what I have to do to avoid having the repeated birth and death. What I have to do to avoid my next body. So those are the questions we should ask. This is what these kind of questions Prabhupada is encouraging to speak. Not the mundane questions, where casual questions. How are you? What was your holiday spot? How was your weekend? We can ask but those are not very important. But these kind of questions will help us to move in our spiritual path, in our bhakti. So this is I thought of discussing, by seeing these different questions in this chapter, I thought of discussing this topic little bit. Same thing in the Bhagavad Gita also. We see that when Arjuna was not able to fight in the battlefield, he stopped he doesn't want to start battle and he surrendered to Krishna. Krishna, I am not able to fight. So then Krishna started speaking Bhagavad Gita. Right? The discussion was not like a one way. Krishna was speaking and Arjuna was having so many inquiries. And if you see in many places in Bhagavad Gita, the Prabhupada, in the purport it was mentioned, these questions not just for Arjuna itself. He was asking, considering everybody in the material world, right? So these are all the questions in the great sages, devotees will ask. And we should also try to inculcate those kind of habits to be asking the right question with the right inquisitiveness. Yesterday Mataji was also talking about the inquisitiveness and right. So we should ask in the same spirit. We should ask questions whenever we speak. So the next, when coming back to our current topic, so if you try to understand the material world, generally anything in this material world, we try to understand with our mind using some logical reasoning, right? And sometimes we do science, we depend on science, we do some experiments, and we do various other things like maths, engineering, science, medicine. We use all these science subjects to understand this material world, how it is functioning, how we can do, to what we have to do to resolve particular things. So these are various things which we try to depend on to understand the material things. For example, if I'm at North Sydney station at 6:10, and by 6:20 I reached Sydney Temple by bus. So then we will derive that, we will understand that, it takes 10 minutes to come by bus from North Sydney Temple to North Sydney Station to Temple. These are some kind of logical reasoning we use to understand situation. Similarly, like the scientists, they are trying to calculate the distance between the Earth planet and other planets, and they are using those various techniques and engineering and space science. They are trying to send our rockets and spaceships to the out. So everything in this material world is based on logical reasoning, science, technology. These are all the various subjects they use to understand the material world. So now in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami was mentioning the 64 qualities of Krishna. Right? One of the qualities it was mentioned is Krishna's inconceivable potencies. Right? Krishna is inconceivable too. We cannot understand Krishna with our normal senses. It's beyond our perception. So, how can Krishna's inconceivable potencies means like Krishna, when he was 6 days old, he killed Putana. Right? And after that, every day, now and then, like frequently he was killing various demons. And he lifted Govardhan hill with the left hand, with little finger. Right? When we hear all these things, we can't believe with our normal material, because we use everything, logical reasoning, science, everything, and experiments. We cannot easily understand these things with our normal material senses. So what we thought, okay, these are only stories. It's not true. That's what we feel finally, because we understand in the material world what a 6 days baby can do, right? So considering with that understanding, we don't realize that, we don't agree that, oh, Krishna, when he was 6 days old, he killed Putana, right? It's our normal senses. It is very difficult to perceive, understand this. So these are like in the, we can see the conceivable things where in the material world, like I gave the examples, a couple of the examples in just few minutes back. So where there are certain things we can conceive with our material senses, but there are the spiritual knowledge, the Krishna, Supreme Lord Krishna, everything, his potencies, we cannot, it's inconceivable to our normal senses. That's why Krishna is Adokshaja. He's beyond our material understanding. So then how we understand these inconceivable potencies of Krishna? So that is where the word avyakta marga hit. So if you see the meaning, knower of that which we do not know, that is avyakta marga hit. So if in this case, if you see, Vidura was asking the question Maitreya, right? What did Brahma did after creating the Prajapatis, right? So if you see, what does it mean? So Vidura knows that Maitreya Rishi is aware of this. So, but if you see, Maitreya is a contemporary of Vidura, because both are in the same age. And he was asking the questions about what did Brahma do. So how did Maitreya Rishi was able to get these details? Right? So we cannot, so as we discussed, we cannot understand these things with our material subjects matter, like logical reasoning or science. We cannot understand this. But Maitreya is able to understand how, because he is also, first thing, because if Vidura is inquiring this question to Maitreya, so Maitreya also avyakta margavit. But he got this knowledge from the bona fide disciplic succession. Right? Brahma started from Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva. In this disciplic succession, so through this disciplic succession only, Maitreya also received this knowledge. So Maitreya is also avyakta margavit. So if you see the Brahma, how we got the knowledge from? See, if you see in the first canto, first verse itself, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So it was received by Brahma, was receiving this knowledge from his through his heart, it was revealed by Lord Supreme Lord Krishna. So the first knowledge was transferred to Brahma from Supreme Lord through his heart. And the next, the succession in that it was given to Narada. So this way it was starting from, it was the initial knowledge was provided by Supreme Lord to Brahma. From there it was all spreading. So now the next thing, but what is the guarantee that the knowledge which was provided by Supreme Lord, is it whatever the Brahma is giving, is it the same? Right? So that question may come in our mind, right? Is it the same thing, whatever Krishna told, whatever Brahma is saying? Because we were not there, just we were following the disciplic succession. So some people may get those questions. So, but since we believe in the disciplic succession, we will not. But for neophyte stage, people may get that doubt. What it did, whatever Brahma has revealed, and Vishnu, Supreme Lord has revealed to Brahma, is it the same? Like, so in this is Prabhupada nicely explained in the book, Perfect Questions and Perfect Answers. So in that there is a person called Bob Cohen. He was a science teacher, chemistry teacher, and he was having these discussions with Srila Prabhupada. So I will read this discussion. So the discussion, Prabhupada and Bob Cohen was discussing about the spiritual master, guru and everything. In that middle of the discussion, there are few discussion points which is relevant to our topic. So so it was like the discussion, in the middle of the discussion, Prabhupada was saying that Krishna is the original guru. So then that Srila Prabhupada, the discipline, 1 minute. So then he's continuing that, Srila Prabhupada. Yes, he is the original guru. Krishna is the original guru. Then his disciple Brahma is a guru. Then his disciple Narada is a guru. Then his disciple Vyasa is a guru. In this way, there is a guru parampara, disciplic section, evam parampara praptam. Prabhupada was reciting that verse to the Bob Cohen. So all the gurus, Krishna is the original guru. From there, Brahma to Narada. So everyone is in the disciplic section is a guru. Then the Bob Cohen was asking, so a guru receives knowledge through disciplic succession, not directly from Krishna. So, do you receive some knowledge directly from Krishna? That was a question from Bob. Then Srila Prabhupada saying, he had said that, so that indirect instructions are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, but we have to understand that instructions through disciplic succession. So, what is Prabhupada meaning? Yes, the direct instructions are available in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam everywhere. But we should not directly read. But still we have to approach. Because if we read on our own, we may interpret in a different way. But when we understand through disciplic succession, it will be the proper way. So that still Prabhupada is emphasizing on disciplic succession. So you have to learn it through the disciplic succession. Otherwise you will misunderstand it. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Then Bob was asking, but presently, you do not receive information directly from Krishna. It comes to the disciplic succession from the books. Then the Prabhu is again asking the question. So you are not directly receiving the question from Krishna, but you are directly reading through disciplic succession. Then Prabhupada is giving an example. There is no difference. Suppose I say that is a pencil. So he's showing one pencil. That is a pencil. And then if you say to that person will say, there is a pencil. And then other person say, that is a pencil. So in all contexts, so what is the difference between the instructions and my instructions? So whatever I am saying, like I said this is a pencil, you are also saying there is a pencil, other person is a pencil. So there is no difference. Everyone is talking the same, right? So the same thing, whatever disciplic succession, whatever the Brahma spoken, his disciples also speak. There is no difference. It is the same message coming. And he gave another example in Bhagavad Gita, 18.66, the verse, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mameka Sharanam Raja, right? So, you leave all the religious activities, surrender unto me. That is what Krishna said. Then Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna said this in the Bhagavad Gita. We are also saying, leave all your religious principles and everything, surrender to Krishna. Right? So Krishna said, surrender to me, and we are saying, surrender to Krishna. Unless, if you make the difference, if you deviate from the original message, if you try to add or subtract to the message, otherwise you cannot do, then only it's a deviation. Otherwise it's the same message. Krishna is asking to surrender unto me, and Prabhupada is also in the books also is saying, surrender to Krishna. Unless if someone misinterpret, like how you don't surrender, instead of saying Krishna, surrender to impersonal Brahman, then there is a deviation. That is not the authoritative correct message. So there is a deviation. But as long as you are following the message, whatever is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita and whatever you are in the disciplic section we are getting, it's the same, then it's authorized, it's a bona fide and no change in the message. So that is how Prabhupada is nicely giving with examples. So this is what the discussion between happening, the Bob Cohen and Srila Prabhupada. So this is where we can see that Avyakta Marga with the knower of that which we do not know. So all this Brahma, Narada, everyone are giving this knowledge. This knowledge is not easily available to all the normal people. So it is coming through disciplic succession and it is bona fide and the authority. So that's where so Prabhupada mentioned the book Bhagavad Gita as it is. He is not changing anything in the message coming through the disciplic succession. He's translating as it is. That's why the Prabhupada named it as a Bhagavad Gita as it is. Many books available in the market, but this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Without manufacturing any additional things, without taking anything out from the Bhagavad Gita, the Prabhupada has written all the purports and everything. So the next thing, why there is no change in, like if there is no, the message coming through disciplic succession is not changing. See, in the material examples, if you see, if I tell something to one person, and that message will be transferred to the next person. So by the time it goes to the 10 levels down from me, the original message, whatever communicated, it may not be the same. Right? That it will deviate, because of this communication, people will understand whatever I told, you may understand in different way, and you understand your own thing way, and you will add some extra words as per your understanding. You will pass that message to next level. And similarly, that person will add his own understanding. He will put his own words, and he will translate, and he will pass. So when you start giving this information to the different people, finally after 10 people, you see whatever you communicated, that will completely turn into different message, right? That is the possibility in the material world. Now, if you see the message coming from the Brahma, so to all the disciplic succession, this is not changing. This is how we can understand this. And that is one thing. This is not changing. But who is the authorized person to come in the disciplic succession? What kind of people will be in the part of this disciplic succession, so that they will not change the actual message coming from his predecessor, superior authority. So in this example, there is one verse in the second canto, 6th chapter. I'll read out the translation. So Narada, Brahma is speaking to Narada, and he is saying the same thing. O Narada, because I have caught hold of lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, with a great zeal, whatever I say has never proven to have been false, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. So, if you see that what is the basic qualification, I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is an important point. So, you need to surrender to Krishna. You need to take the shelter of Krishna. Then you will be getting the message, you will understand the message in a right context, and you will be passing on to the next level in a same way, whatever way. So, when you take the shelter of Krishna, when you surrender to Krishna, you will be passing to the message to the next level. So, if you see, all these people in the disciplic succession are surrendered souls. Similarly, Mahajans, 12 Mahajans also there. They are also strictly following the principles, and they are passing to the different the living entities. So it is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Chetusloki Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogantam ye namami upayantite. Right? So to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So for the surrendered souls, Krishna will also reveal this knowledge. So with all these factors, you surrender to Krishna, and Krishna is giving with your devotion, he will give the right knowledge. Consider combining all these things, you will pass the message in a right way without manufacturing on your own. Right? So that way it passes through disciplic succession. So it will not deviate. In the normal material context, the message will be manufactured and changed. But whereas the transcendental message coming through the disciplic succession is not changing, because each of the person available in the disciplic succession is a pure surrendered. So they are surrendered to Supreme Lord. And when you have surrendered, Krishna will take care. He will give the right knowledge. And so in fact, he will choose that so you will not be he will choose the people, so that, like if you see the example, 2nd and 4th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was saying, initially this knowledge was given to Sun God to Manu to the next level, but in between chain was broken. Then again, Krishna started speaking, initiated this process with Arjuna. So he was choosing Arjuna because Arjuna he was a devotee of the Lord. Right? So that's why in the Bhagavad Gita also, it was clearly mentioned, since Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, so he have selected Arjuna to transfer this knowledge. Right? So So the qualifications required to receive this knowledge is, one, you have to surrender. You have to surrender to the text. You have to take the shelter of lotus feet of Supreme Lord, and then Supreme Lord will give you the enough knowledge so that you will not manufacture this message and you will pass it on to the disciplic succession in a right context. So who can become the Avyakta Marga? So the devotees, the surrendered devotees can become the Avyakta Marga. Like anybody who's sincere in his devotion, who surrendered to Krishna, who is reading the understanding with the right context, he will be passing the message in a right way without manufacturing anything. And how we receive the knowledge from Avyakta Marga. Now we all see the Avyakta Marga with how, who is the Avyakta Marga with, what kind of qualifications he will have, who are all in our history, we understand. But now, how we will receive the message from Avyakta Marga with. Then you can also become an Avyakta Marga with, right? So how we will receive the, how we can receive this transcendental message from Avyakta Marga with. So there's a verse in the famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi pranipatena pranipasnena sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshana. Right? So what are the qualifications required to receive this message? Pranipatena, right? The pranipatena, you have to surrender to the law, spiritual master, and you have to be submissive, and you have to do service. When you do all these things with a submissive mode, you inquire in a right way, and when you do service to your spiritual master, then he will give you this knowledge, the right knowledge. Then you will understand. Unless you ask, I think the Mataji was explaining in the Sunday's class, right? When you ask the question to the spiritual master, you will be getting the right. If you don't ask anything to your guru or the senior devotee, you won't get any message. Unless you should be inquisitive, you should not challenge to the guru or the senior Vaishnava. You should be submissive and you should have a right intent. So you should have that inquisitiveness to get this knowledge. When you have all these things, you will be getting the right knowledge from the guru or the senior devotee, so which is not manufactured, which is the same message which was coming through all the disciplic succession. So this is what I wanted to convey through this verse. Any comments, any feedback, any? Yes, Prabhu. Mm-hmm.
Does it mean that Lord Brahma was doing a parallel creation of the jivas along with the Prajapatis? Was he actually creating simultaneously, or he just came in charge to the Prajapatis?
No, but I think my understanding is because in the next subsequent verses, it was mentioned in all the things, different, like other things were created when the Brahma is creating. So my understanding is it's not parallel, it could be sequential. That's what my understanding, but I'm not sure if anybody can comment on this.
I guess Prabhupada mentioned about disciplic succession.
Yeah.
I guess we have some personalities in Puranas, like for example, Ekalavya.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of disciplic succession he was following?
See, Ekalavya, because Ekalavya approached, as per Mahabharata, from Mahabharata story, Ekalavya approached Drona. And Drona, he did not agree to take him as a disciple, right? But still, he himself observing the Dronacharya while he's teaching to other disciples, and he started practicing. So that is what he did. So he was not, Dronacharya was not considering him as a disciple, but he is following it as a guru. So that is what it is, Prabhu. So there is it's not a parampara, it is not connected to, he's feeling that he's connected to guru, but guru has not agreed, right? So connection is not fully established, it's only one way. So when you say the Diksha or shelter, you aspire to the Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj will agree, he will approve, and he will give the initiation, right? That is the process, Guru and disciple. But this process is not there here. So it's not completely the disciplic succession, we can say, but it's only one way. You are admiring him as a Guru, but Guru has not agreed. But in our, if you see the process in our current, like we up to the Guru and Guru has to accept, then only we do the establish the real. Yes. Anything else? Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.